Today, I'm excited to welcome Soma, the founder of Savitar Botanicals. She's built an amazing brand with a unique story. I can't wait to hear it. Soma, thank you for being here. Could you start by sharing a little bit about yourself and the journey behind Savitar Botanicals?
Thank you for having me here. I love having these conversations as we are all trying to uncover our own version of what does it mean for holistic living. If I go way back, I was a world level competitive figure skater. And so I was around high end practices of if you had an injury, you needed to have the quickest, fastest approach to that. Because again, we're talking high level competitive figure skating. And then as a coach myself, that was always on the forefront of my mind with skaters. Flashing into when I was a coach, I started to watch what was happening with my students when I had put them in yoga for the first time. I thought it was just kind of about making them more flexible, but I was realizing something more deeply was happening. So I actually started to do my own version of yoga. And within about 3 to 4 years, it took some time, I started to notice the aspects that we actually have subconsciously at healing our own body. Now, born and raised in Rochester, Minnesota, land of we're going to vaccinate and antibiotics first, then ask questions later. I'm sorry to say they are doing world-renowned things, and they're also keeping us under the veil of your body doesn't know what it's doing. So it took me some time to really literally come to the conclusion that, you mean my body really does have its own immune system, and all these things that I was taking was dumbing it down, and it wasn't actually helping promote it to a different space. And then as a mother, and I was the mother who gave her kids amoxicillin or whatever before we went on a trip just to make sure nobody got sick. So it was completely opposite to everything I'm doing now. And I say that to all of you who are listening. You're doing the best that you can with the information you have around you. And when we have these conversations, we can start to elevate that awareness. So I'm off in, time goes by. I leave the figure skating world because I start to detach from the importance of winning versus enjoying different nuances of, are you happy in life? Is this what you want to be doing with your time and money? Again, kind of fasting through this. I ended up in India in 2011. And my first major in college, flashback real quick, was sports nutrition because I was fascinated with food and I could just see how that there was some layer to that. But again, I was not in the right society or upbringing to really have that be true. So now we flash to 2011 and I'm in India and I'm thinking I'm going over there to understand the science behind yoga. Because at this point, I'm recognizing there's more to these mantras and these meditations. Stuff's happening. I mean, like I'm watching the brain Tetris and stuff's happening and you don't even have to know anything. You just do. It was like acupressure for the body. And it was phenomenal to watch my skaters, my friends, my athletes who I would talk into doing some of this with me. So here I'm in India and I realized that's just what we call one limb. That physical portion is just one teeny tiny limb of this whole thing we call union, yoga, to connect yourself with consciousness. And I'm like, okay, I grew up in this Christian world. What do you mean? What does Jesus have to do with this? What is not? Do I believe in it? Do I not believe in it? And I'm recognizing this isn't about religion. This is nature. Like, I don't need to confuse religion in here. As a natural being, I am entitled to my own body's healing. And that just was not something I was taught. So I saw the physical piece of this as being acupressure. Well, then I realized Ayurveda is the oldest form of medicine that we're still practicing. It's the foundation behind Chinese medicine. It's the foundation behind everything that we're currently using. And all it does is take the commonality of where you are. Do you like what you're doing? Do you like who you're with? Are you happy in your environment? How do you feel about the temperature in the environment? How do you feel about the clothes that you wear? You getting enough food? And you're literally taking all these natural, basic nuances of being human. And then you find out where your irritations are or where your frustrations are or where your mental picture is. You see how you're metabolizing food or not. You notice how agitated you get by sound or not. One person's love of heat is another person's detest for it. So Ayurveda really means, who are you in the whole? And it was such a simple concept. That's when my sports nutrition alarms went off and went, this is what I was really looking for. It was just, how do we make the body most optimal for what we want inside? Because every one of us sits on the ground at some point in time, looking up at the stars going, why do I suffer? And why can't I just do what I want to do? But we don't even know sometimes what we want to do. So here I am on these, what I call peeling back the layers, because now I'm putting myself into an environment where I'm only doing what my body naturally wants to do. And I didn't even know what it wanted to do. I was a world level figure skater. I was well educated. My dad was an attorney. I lived the stereotypical, American dream life. And yet who the heck was I? What the heck was I doing? And it wasn't till I got back to the fundamental, oh my gosh, we have a cat meowing in the backdrop. I hope, what are the fundamental layers of, do I like the people I'm hanging out with, or am I tolerating it because I think that's all I have access to? Do I like the education that I'm receiving, or do I think that this is as good as it gets? And when you get quiet and you eat food that really supports you, and then you start to move the body in a way that supports you, the universe flows through you. It's just sort of like the birds flying in the sky going, let's go here. Call it intuition, call it God, call it spirit, call it divine power, call it whatever you want. But the more you shut the F up, the louder the universe comes. Now enter essential oils. So I had heard about essential oils, and to me, that was a glorified room freshener. I really didn't think that it was much more than that. And I went back to India in 2013 because now I was wide awake and I wanted to understand this Ayurveda thing. And at that time, I had been introduced to a multi-level marketing company of essential oils, told that it was the best, better than organic. It was my upline that was educating me. They were showing me all these different things you could do. And it was great. Something just didn't feel right. And I don't know why. I loved the group of people. It was fine. But when I decided to do this 2-month deep dive of Ayurveda, up 17 hours out of Delhi, I was the only American and 15 people. And they said, well, you have to have the supplies list before you get there. And we're going to be 2 months and you're off the grid and no running water and minimal electricity. And I'm like, and at this point, I'm like 45 years old, 40, like, this isn't like I'm doing this when I'm 25. I'm soul searching because I'm just not buying what is being sold around me as a metaphor. It just didn't go well in my gut. So I said, okay, I bought the supplies. They said, you can choose from this company or that company. And I ordered the oils from what their recommended place was. The moment I opened up that package, I could tell it was so different than these multi-level marketing oils that I had been using. But I my gut went off, my throat had a lump because I'm like, no, can't be. So I kind of kept everything in a box to get to India, and we start working with the oils. So here I am in India and I'm seeing what's happening around me and I'm smelling the oils, and we're in literal clinic. So I'm working with the oils and I do not want to pull out the ones that I brought. I can just tell something off in me went off. Then we went down to the science lab one day and they showed me a fractionating machine. And I was like, what the heck is a fractionating machine? And why would you use that? And I can still see his face. Somah, you are in school. This means that this will be your project. And in 2 weeks, I want you to tell the class, what is a fractionating machine and why would we use this in the industry? So I did all this research. I said, can I use a gas chromatography mass spectrometry machine? He was like, absolutely. And these are expensive tools that I had complete access to because I'm in school. So I go back to my little room and I get all my little multi-level marketing oils and I start putting them through the machinery and my jaw hits the floor. Because as a scientist, if you can picture taking a plant that's found in nature, you put it into a machine, you can get a chemical component structure of what that is. And if you do it with another plant, you can say this is the same or this is different. And if you do it with the same species, you'll say this is the same species. Now, if I take a frankincense oil and I put it into the machine and I look at it and I'm like, well, Serrata is one type and I see some components of it, and Ferrier is another type and I see some components of that. Seika is another type and I see, but I don't see any whole of it. Like if this had all of those oils, you would see all of the components of all of them. But I was seeing pieces of these different species. So I emailed the company and I'm like, what the heck? I'm in school. I'm doing this. Why is this not a pure oil is what I'm seeing? Immediately I got a response back and it said, and I still have the letter, we've teamed up with the world's greatest scientists to determine what the ideal balance of frankincense should be. And I'm in school going, wait a minute, there's like 37 varieties of frankincense. For who? The person with skin cancer, the person with gum tissue, the person with Parkinson's, how are you determining what the ideal balance should be? And I'm in school to study Ayurveda, meaning I have 4 siblings from the same parents in the same family, and we all are so dynamically different and would require different styles of a frankincense if we were to use it. So that was what came off like bells and whistles. So then I took those oils and I tested their jasmine and I tested their rosemary and I tested their eucalyptus and it was all the same. And so I went back to finish school there, went back to my teacher in a different location, sobbing. And he's like, well, you'll just have to start your. I'm like, I can't start my own company. Are you crazy? It was the story of the mind. So he said, sit with your oils. So this is where I'm so passionate about them. I sat with the oils that I know to be most spiritually evolutionary encouraging, and that would be sandalwood, and that would be frankincense, Carterii or a sacra. And then I sat with orange because it's an amplifier. And it's literally like having conversations with the DNA and nature that have different vibratory fields. And when you're sitting there and you're smelling these aromas at different proportions, because by then I was familiar with them, literally it was, you can do this and you don't have to know about that. And at the right time, this will come forth. And get out of your head. This is not you. It was a lot of that. Get out of your own way. You're not doing this for you. You're doing this because other people want access to this. And literally, I got invited to a distillation in Tunisia, Africa. I mean, like an email out of the blue. We'll pay for you. We'll fly you. You get over here. We'll put you up in a hotel. We want your company. And I had just started this. Then I got invited to go to France and meet up with Michel Manouvrier and Jean-François Badeau. And these were huge people in the industry who started EcoCert organics, from wine to herbs to essential oils. Who was I to be invited into this? Again, I had to get out of my head. The oils were talking. They were working with the ambiances of nature. And so by then I was using movement, yoga, I was using pranayama, I was using mantra, because these are all tools that literally help shift your vibration. And I think of it like being on an elevator floor. You can push that 8th floor as much as you want, but if you're not in vibration with the people on the 8th floor, you're going to go to the 9th, you're going to go to the 4th, you're going to go to the 3rd. And as soon as you shift your vibration, then the right situations and experiences start to uncover themselves and unfold. So that happened the whole time I was using astrology as an outside source. I had an astrologist who was helping me. And I was just always so frustrated and hungry. Like, I wish I could read my own chart. I wish I could do this myself, because I'm just shape shifting so fast. And it was literally like a weather pattern, or watching the waves. When do you jump up? When do you let the wave and you duck underneath it? And I could see that this planetary influence was for real, but not from the perspective of Western astrology. So I went back and, I've been to India over 20 times, and I started to bring people there and started to do yoga retreats to get them, to show them the experience of pausing, unwinding, letting nature speak through, because it's inspiring to me to watch somebody think, I'm at this crossroads. I don't know what to do. My parents say this, my boyfriend says that, or I'm getting a divorce. You're too in your head. Get quiet, eat differently, smell some oils, move your body, see what coincidences happen. And then when you look at a chart, you can see this is a great time to do a soul journey. Nope, this is a great time to move. This is a great time to do a real estate investment. And again, you're just using what's available in nature so that when you hit a crossroads, you can get quiet and remember who you are. We just forget who we are. We think we have to go outside, and to get the tools, sure. But once you get the tools, then you just get the tune-up. It's like going to the dentist once a year or whatever. You maintain, you brush your own teeth, you floss your own teeth, you take care of the food that you're eating. So it really, I have to say, the essential oil started all this. And then now I work with business entrepreneurs and moms and people who are at a crossroads, is what I say. And I started first working with either athletes or sick people, because they would do their homework. Like, they would do what I told them to do. If you're moderately comfortable in life, you don't want to change that much, because then it makes you too awkward. And how do you socialize with people? And it's just people don't want to change their friend groups. I draw in the person who is like, I don't care. I got to change. This is not working for me anymore. And so my first question is, what are you pretending to not know? Is it a relationship? Is it a job? Is it a whatever? And the oils, the breathing, the chart, that'll tell you exactly what steps to take. If you don't want to, then you can figure it out. School of Hard Knocks. I did that first 40 years of my life. Wouldn't recommend it, but knock yourself out. There's a lot.
No, it's very fascinating. I do have a question.
Yes.
As far as just my own curiosity, this machine and running these oils through them. What exactly was it showing you?
So what it does, a fractionating machine is just what it sounds. It takes a chemical, Dawn dishwashing soap, shampoo, an essential oil. You put this in there, and it literally has the ability to break apart the components of the structure so that you can isolate. So I can take linalool. It's sort of like what they've done with gluten in America. That's why a lot of people say they could eat pasta and breads over in Europe. But in America, they're taking the gluten, they're repulverizing it. They're making it more so that they can put on the label, it's an 87% protein content rather than 17%. That's what they're doing with the oil. So they're saying, with this sliver of frankincense that I took out of the fractionating machine, I can put it into this toothpaste and market it to you and tell you that there is real frankincense in this toothpaste. That's true, but it's not the whole truth. So they can make a lot more money with slivers of the oil. They recreate their own version of a lavender oil, their own version of a lemon oil, their own version of a jasmine oil. And then they're sitting on McDonald's style marketing whiz. And they're going to sell you, and because it's better than a Fred Flintstone vitamin. It's not like you're doing something and drinking bleach and it's a bad thing. But in time, there was a prediction made in the early 70s that Dr. Kurt Schnaubelt, one of my first great teachers, and he said, by the 90s, within 30 years, 20, 30 years, you will start to see companies that are taking the structure of the product, inventing it, and then you'll know because people will start to have reactions to it. So there are a couple different companies that I don't want to mention any names, but I know people who, when they use their frankincense, when they use their cinnamon oil, they have a reaction and they don't understand why, and these companies will talk about the blood-brain barrier, which is crazy because that's just it. The blood-brain barrier won't accept something that's not in its natural form. It knows to kind of kick it out. So it has to synthesize something. So that's making the liver actually work harder. Do you know that there is an actual law in America called the hamburger law that was established for all fast food chains so that you couldn't sue them by saying, I didn't get nutrition out of this? There's a hamburger law. My dad was actually involved in this, trying to push back against this. And the point of this story is that we have laws in our country protecting fast food restaurants, saying, even though you're going here to eat and to feed your family, you could get sick from this. Don't consider this nutrition. And we are washing our hands from what could happen. That same thing is happening in the marketing industry with multi-level marketing companies. When they have their own bylaws, you're saying, I'm going to just entrust everything I'm saying to you. We don't read the finite point. And when you take these companies, you go, oh, well, I saw their lemon oil. I went to the gas chromatography. I saw it. I downloaded it. No, you didn't. You saw probably 16 to 20 components that they posted. They will not post the full GCMS because it's over 150 components long, and they will tell you that it's proprietary reasoning, which is, again, in the industry wrong. You go to any reputable company, they'll brag to you. What year do you want to see it? This was our year in 2014. This is 2024. They want you to see the whole gas chromatography because there's nothing to hide from a whole oil. We're not talking about a blend. We're not talking about their toothpaste powder. We're talking about a single oil. That's what is being done right in front of people. And when you have that conversation, they'll say, I want you to prove that to me. And I just don't need, I already did. I proved it for me. I can show you the paper trails. I can bring you into the machinery. At this point, I really only work with people who can follow the math, understand this. And then again, you smell it yourself. Every time, 100%. You close your eyes. You don't even have to know oils. You smell the MLM company lavender. And then I have a French lavender. I have a cashmere lavender because you may want a different lavender for different purposes, but you want the whole thing.
Right. So is it a very diluted, I guess, version, or is it also
It's not
synthetic?
diluted. Technically, it's what's our big word? Genetically modified. Technically, that's what it is. It's genetically modified. But they can call it pure because they're not taking some outside chemical and putting it in. They're just taking, as I said, think of 24 species of frankincense, putting them all into a gas chromatography or putting them all into a fractionating machine and then pulling out different ingredients and then putting them together and making your own.
I gotcha. Okay, so they're modifying.
They are modifying it and they can't call it a full strain. And when you're a practitioner, I may say, okay, for you, I want you to have this much of a frankincense carterii. We're going to put a little bit of a frankincense sacra, but I want the whole strain of both oils in to make that blend. And 3 months from now, you come back to me, I may shift that entirely. I may say, we're going to pull the sacra out. That's starting to bring you into too much of a meditative space. I'm going to add in a little Freriana and more Serrata because that's going to bring you up into your mind and be more clarifying. And then we might put in some lemon here. Like there's a reason, there's a whole thing. And I love my country. And at the same time, if you want to sell something that you need or don't need, you can bring it to America and sell anything. And you just put it in a pretty package bow. You put it in a way that you dumb down a mom. That's the first thing you do. You let her know that she does not know what she's doing and that she will hurt her kids if they don't listen to you and that this is what you need to do. You have her attention. And if
Yes.
all her friends are doing it, you got her. And that's
Especially,
my market. It's not, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's a stereotype because it was my stereotype. So that's the only reason why.
yeah, it's especially bad or works if you mix in, lobbyists and lots of money too, right? Like,
Well, and that's the big pharma thing. I mean, why would we want to be able to heal ourselves? I mean, that's the whole industry. Side note, if you have insurance and you want to get a doula for birth to deliver a baby, you will pay thousands of dollars for that. If you're on Medicaid, they will provide a doula for you because they know that that will reduce their cost.
right. Well,
Really,
then
really weird.
America has a really bad history of even not just big pharma, even, like cell phone companies getting together and lobbying and hiding information and data like, health impacts and in the tobacco industry did that, and it's just all these different industries
Well,
was,
now that they're doing it vaping, I mean, it's so fun to
yeah.
vape as a kid. I mean, it's cherry and it's bubble gum and it's not a gross cigarette. It's like fun flavor and they're addicted by the time they're 15 because it's a fad. It's cool. It smells fun.
Yeah, it's yeah, there's definitely some downsides to this country for
This
sure.
is why I'm in the Canary Islands in Spain right now, looking to move here, but because all of my workshops and everything I do is online, and then I bring people to virtual retreats here on the island, and I go back to Colorado periodically. But it really is. I can't get away from the food and the medical that I just so strongly disagree with. And here's where I
Oh,
am.
oh, so that's where you are right now.
I am in the Canary Islands
Oh,
in Spain. Yes, yes. I've been here since July 8th. I return home in mid-September to organize my digital nomad American visa to come back. But I have a series of different retreats where people will be coming here and doing anywhere from 10-day trainings to 30-day trainings, depending upon what their jam is. Yep.
wow. Okay, that's very cool. So, switching gears a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you some business related
Perfect.
questions. I'm assuming just from our conversation that you're like sole practitioner, right? Like you don't have people that work for you.
100%. I am actually, as I said, I'm virtual. So my whole company is back home in America. It's in Las Vegas. It's being run by an incredible woman, Maru, who's doing all the fulfillment for me. I do all the ordering. I do all of my own, obviously, education, formulating, but the product lands in her location and she uses my recipes and she then ships everything out so I can be working with my entrepreneurs and guiding my retreats.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so I mean, how I guess tell me a little bit more about the essential oils that is what I mean, how many people do you have doing that for you?
So Maru is, as I just said, she's my operational person. I'm not quite sure what you mean by how many other people. There aren't
W-
really any other things to do other than as I source from different locations, they don't work for me. I purchase that product from them, so to speak. I have a business assistant and a virtual assistant and people who help me with my emails and my all things technical that I just say, yeah, no thanks. And then as it relates, I said all my formulations and blend, that's all been done. I mean, I did that starting 2011, 12 in school, had everything published by 2014, ran the company myself completely until 2023. And then, oh, I lost my light. And then things shifted. And I actually tried to close up the company, but I had so many other companies. And let me back into this. What I was really serving were large apothecaries. So people who were buying gallons and drums and like barrels of olive oil or lemon oil. And I was supplying from globally, wherever they were indigenously sourced, to their location. And then they would make their toothpaste blends. They would make their bug sprays. They would make whatever it is. I had the single oils and my own personal blends that I'd done through the years of my own following of 6,000 customers or whatever. But what I sourced to was much grander than that because they were, as I said, buying large purchases. So I shut it down. Things kind of went sideways with somebody who I was trying to partner with. And then I had 3 different companies literally beg me. And it was happened, of course, in 1 week's time. Everything had been quiet, quiet, quiet. And 1 week's time. I can't source. I can't find what you had. I've been trying to remake my blends. We've tried to remake our, our sunscreen. If we don't have your oils, we can't run our company. And the third time, I literally started to cry. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So let's go back to the name. Savitar is in the Gayatri mantra. And the Gayatri mantra is, when we talk about a mantra, Sanskrit is the only language that goes beyond understanding. Like, we don't have to know what the words mean, and they have intonations that we can now test on the body. If I hooked you up to electrodes and I use certain Sanskrit mantras, I can literally tune in to different organs and body parts on you. It's phenomenally fascinating. So when I was on one of my motorcycle journeys, because I also ride a motorcycle, and I was riding up over the highest motorable road in the world, and I was sitting with my teacher and talking about trying to create this company, and we talked about the Gayatri mantra, which is, of all mantras in yoga, it's like one of the first that you use. It really means lead me out of my own darkness and allow me to remember who I am. But there's a phrase in it. It's Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonan Prachodayat. And so he had me do that 108 rounds for 40 days. And at the end of that, he said, Tat Savitur. And we use the name Savitar, because Tat Savitar means from the truth of God's wisdom. And God defined as the creator of this existence in time, however you wish to determine it. So on my label, it says Savitar Botanicals, but in very small print, it says Tat Savitar Varenium. And that's what my company was designed to do. It was the truth of this wisdom. It's not about me. And that's how I got out of my own way. If these people needed this product, if they wanted to make this, if they were serving people that no longer could they do because I didn't like the noise of what was happening, then find a different way to do it. And then somebody came to me, Maru, and she's like, I'll do it for you. I really need your company here. And so.
Okay. Gotcha.
From the
I,
truth of God's wisdom, that's how it came. Yes.
okay. Yeah. And just so you know, I guess I was speaking more on, and you answered the question, but I was being, because I'm picturing this in my head of, it seems like a lot of work to go through this process of making these oils.
I
Right?
don't make oils. Remember, I'm importing oils. I don't make oils. I don't sit with the distill. I'm not putting things like, I go to the locations. I'm in India. I'm in France. I'm in Bulgaria. I'm in
Okay.
at the distillations. I meet people who are phenomenal at what they do, legitimate at what they do. My computer's about to die. And then after having the oils tested and knowing that they are true and legit, then I am able to source and have an agreement with them. There was one company that I actually worked with out of Tunisia, Africa, had fantastic neroli oil. I could not stand the way he spoke to his wife. I could not handle the way he ordered his food and talked to the staff. I just wouldn't do business with him. So there's a whole vibration of, who are they on this earth? How are they showing up? Is it just to make money, or is it to really tend to the land and tend to the people and serve what these, in my opinion, live agents? Neroli is its own personification. Frankincense is its own personification. If you really understood, like Palo Santo, you can't cut down a Palo Santo tree, and if you do, it won't produce oil. It has to die naturally. Like, crazy. I could go on and on about different products and how they have so much consciousness. So when you use them, intelligently, they want to be used by you. They want to come back through you. And I needed to kind of have Savitar Botanicals collapse and get my ego back out of it again, to have it come back and say, Savitar Botanicals, from the truth of God's wisdom, we need this product, and we're going to help people with Parkinson's, and we're going to help people with arthritis, and we're going to help, all of that, all of that, all of that. I have to brag, because we talked about a little bit of COVID. First time I got COVID, I didn't know that I had it. I felt like I was kind of tired. I just had been kind of emotional. And then I ended up doing a test, and that tiredness that lasted maybe 36 hours went away, and I realized that I did. And the second time I got COVID, I actually got it from somebody who had had a vaccine. And I didn't know that I had it at all. 0 symptoms whatsoever. And this is where we go into the conversation of the terrain of your body. If you have altered the terrain of your body to such a degree, like, you don't catch every cold that comes by. You don't catch every virus that comes by. Through time, when you're using essential oil blend in your armpits, no carrier oil, no baking soda, your lymph nodes, your immune system starts to work with that. It starts to activate the anti-inflammatory, the antiviral benefits. It's so simple, but we've just forgotten. We've just forgotten. And so Somah, the name, my actual name, actually means to remember to give the nectar back to the gods. It was actually a name given to me through my birth chart. And it was just the nectar of Somah would be what the gods would consume before they would go into battle. And so, standing on that name, I'm here to help anybody who feels like they are in a battle of life, whether it's an emotional battle, a physical battle, a spiritual battle. There's a way out, and an oil and a breath work and a mantra. I don't know what's weirder, how well it all works, or the fact that we don't do this.
Okay. So I misunderstood. I thought you meant you were importing like all the raw. So I
I
understand it
am
now.
importing all you mean raw materials, the raw
Yes, yeah.
finished oil.
Right. No, yeah, no, I got you now. I get it. Makes
Yes.
sense now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so back to business, as far as your focus and your role. Obviously you have your person that's managing and helping with the botanical side of things, and then what part of your role takes the majority of your time right now? Like, what does
My business entrepreneur appointments, my one-on-ones, because when I engage with somebody, we're working either 3 months or 6 months. We're spending 1 hour a week together. So if I have anywhere from 10 to 12 entrepreneurs that I'm working with, those one-on-one times will take up that time. But it leads to, we have group calls. Then I'm doing events. I just did an event on astrology, and it was all about using astrology for business, using astrology for relationship connection. That takes up more of my time. I send out a couple emails a week about my essential oils, and I use the essential oils in prescription with my entrepreneurs as it relates to when they're going through before they start their practice of the day, or as a way of ceremonially or ritually setting intention for something. So they're definitely used, but the oil company itself now is really what I call my residual income of, I've done all of the work. Now I get to just enjoy marketing it, talking about it, sending people, Maru's doing more of the physical work as it relates to that, but that's her practice right now. She really enjoys working physically with the product. And it's wonderful to work with a product when you do. And right now I'm glad that she gets to touch that.
right? Yeah,
It's a whole skincare line. She was an esthetician, very high-end esthetician, worked in boutique places out of LA and Vegas, the whole thing, and then started to see what was happening in the industry. Went down to South America, started to use emeralds, crystals, stones, ground them up, put them in different skincare products, and then used my oils and created a phenomenal whole line. And so I was making my own line. The first time I tried hers, I tossed mine and said, that's it. She's doing better than I can do with my own product.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, you can make my blends too, because I know you got the recipe thing down. And she's very much of a hermit. She really doesn't like to interact a whole lot with the outside world. So again, when you get into that space, that was a very powerful time for me when it first started happening. I had gone through a divorce. I didn't want to be in the dating world. I didn't want to be in the social world. And all of a sudden, all these little spiritual friends popped up in oils and herbs and things like that that really carried me. And that's kind of where she's at.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, so out of all these things you have going on with your entrepreneurs and coaching, what's one task you wish you didn't have to handle personally?
Gosh, I don't have that anymore. I'm an
Oh,
entrepreneurial coach. We don't do that anymore. Anything I don't want to handle, I outsource. I'm really good about that, so I can be free to do what I want to do. And I build these retreats. People come and they'll do anywhere from a 10-day retreat to a 30-day retreat, getting a yoga certification if that's what they want, because I have a yoga teacher training school, and I generally only work with holistic practitioners. So
okay.
I don't know that I don't know that I have any tasks that I love to cook. I make my own food. I've outsourced anything that I don't want to do.
Okay. Then what's been the biggest bottleneck or frustration lately?
My American visa, nomad visa, that I have got to figure out. I have got to figure out how to get the paperwork done and prove the things that they want me to prove in the format that they want so that the Spanish government will accept it. And I haven't figured out how to outsource that yet. I actually am trying to hire some third party, possibly an attorney, because again, I just have learned as an entrepreneur, if I want to have the visions that I want to have, I cannot be bogged down emotionally with things that I don't do well. I would rather pay somebody else to do that, because then my company, I'll have a purchase that will go 10 times what I spent on that. And then they get supported for what they're doing. I get supported for what I'm doing. Yeah, that's my biggest bottleneck. I've got to figure out the visa thing and quick.
Okay.
And to figure out my third location here on the island. I have 2 locations so far where we're dropping in to do the retreat. I leave September 8th, so I've got some time. I've got 1 more location to figure out.
Amazing. That's great.
Yes,
3.
yes.
Um, what big shifts have you noticed in the industry lately?
I've really noticed that people care. They want to do the research. They want to be armed. I love the millennial era group. Like they are reading labels. They are researching, information. I think that it's more hip or cool. Like I can sit on a bus and do a breath work that's obnoxious. I mean, I can sit there and put an oil on my hand, do that in the other direction, take up 3 minutes of my time, keep my eyes closed for another minute or 2, open up my eyes, and nobody would be looking at me. Nobody would be caring. You could not have done that 8 years ago. 5 years ago, before COVID, you could not have done.
Wow.
So I love that the light switch is going on and that people are listening, and that you have an audience. You have more of an audience now than a year ago. People care. They care about this side of, okay, what can we do spiritually? What can we do holistically? Like this is a growing trend, which
Yeah. Luckily, I started learning this or discovering it a long time ago, and I have a 19-year-old daughter, and I had already been doing research into things, and long story short, we decided not to vaccinate at all, right? And um and it's like you said, you're taking in all this information, and then you're trying to form your own opinions, right? Of, we're looking, pro vaccinate, don't vaccinate. We're looking at both and think like, well, we feel more comfortable with not vaccinating and just going the natural route, like, as you said. And of course, we're really glad we did that. But, a lot of people think you're crazy for doing that,
possible.
or
I mean, that's
irresponsible.
even worse than crazy.
Yes.
Like your kid can't play with my kid. I actually got told that when sorry to interrupt. This is an essential oil story. My son, same age, 19, but back in the day, got pink eye, hanging out with a bunch of buddies, got pink eye, got the phone call. Everybody's got to go get antibiotics. And he's looking at me like, everybody's saying that we have to have antibiotics. We can't come back to school until we've been on antibiotics for 24 hours. Sorry, is I so apologize. I just need to plug this in. The school nurse even said, I need a note from the doctor showing me that you did go to the doctor, that you did get a prescription of antibiotics, and after 24 hours, he can come back to school. Well, there's no way in the world, because I did vaccinate him as a baby, but once I went off to India, this was, he was in kindergarten. So I did the kindergarten shots, and then I never vaccinated him again because I knew differently. So again, we're third grade. I'm like, I'm not doing squat. So I contacted one of my essential oil teachers actually in France. And I said, I can cure pink eye with oils. Like, how the heck? And he was like, okay, you're going to think this is crazy, but this is what I want you to do. And I want you to take photos. And I was like, all right. I literally took the antiviral oils of tea tree, a high Himalayan lavender, and a thyme, a version of a thyme with just a little bit of linalool, super intense, high antiviral oils. And I put them on little cotton balls and I literally taped them around his face. I'm like giving his eye aromatherapy. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if anybody saw me, they're going to think I'm crazy. In that time frame, I literally took photos. It was like watching a time lapse. 45 minutes later, his eye started to clear up. An hour and a half later, his eye looked like he was just kind of a little sleepy. Less than 3 hours later, his eye looked perfect. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Of course, I kept training them out, and I can't even begin to tell you how wild that was. So I had to figure out a friend who literally helped me, we're recording this, forge all of the information that I needed to forge so I could get him back into school. And my kid recovered the fastest. Knowing about
Wow.
I wish I could show you a screen share. I have a video or a screen of he did a face plant on the ground, completely the whole concussion, nose, I mean, face. Within 7 days, I can show you the photos, a time lapse of what I did to his face.
Wow. I
Can
mean,
you screen share? Can you?
I mean, I don't doubt it. No, I can't on here.
It's amazing. It was just every single day how I treated it. When you saw what it was, that's happening in the industry that didn't happen before. Now you have more stories like that.
Right. Yeah. I've had some similar experiences like that. Even with my daughter and, like strep throat, for example, for one,
Mm-hmm.
which they normally always go right to antibiotics for, right?
Right away.
Um, so do you feel that because of this shift, and especially you were mentioning with this awareness of after COVID, that do you think that's kind of what inspired some of this? Because I've noticed, you have people like, RFK, who's really pushing this health agenda, and but do you think that any of that's tied together,
Of
or?
course, 100%, because actually that's how my business shifted. So here I am dealing with COVID, getting out more orders than ever before, and all my holistic practitioner yoga teacher training business started to halt because nobody was meeting. They didn't really want to do it online. They wanted that connection. And so I was asked actually by a couple of different companies. They said, will you run our virtual online Monday morning meeting and take us through a meditation, take us through a vision planning? And it was kind of done as a test subject for a couple of different companies in the Denver tech area. And that caught on like wildfire. And all of a sudden I was full. Like I couldn't take on any more CEO little clinic clients. And I would do their Monday morning meeting. I would take them through breath work. I would send them some oils. We would talk about how it helped. And it was funny because it was the men. I really predominantly work with women. It was the men that were the funniest of, oh my gosh, I brought this home to my wife and she's using this now. And this is super helpful. And I did this with my son before he went to bed. And it was so fun to see the enthusiasm of these business entrepreneurs, CEO, marketing, CEO, whatever, all of a sudden sitting there doing breath work with oil on their hand and seeing how creative they were being, how much more focused they could get into their priority focus time and not have distraction. They felt like their ADD was resolved. Like it was just great. And that was COVID. And so then it kind of ended. And a lot of them said, okay, well, I don't want to stop working with you, or my company isn't paying for this anymore. Can I do some one-on-ones with you? Can we do it for our family? And a lot of times it was their wife or it was a child that going through something. And then it just kind of evolved, he said, further into the CEO format, because people just want to be seen and heard and they want to have their vision. be cast out into the universe, and then they want some accountability to it. But you don't want to be a sea people. Love Tony Robbins. He's great, but I could never do a coaching program with that. I mean, you're one in so many. It's just, and I don't think he uses astrology.
Right.
But yeah, on my little soapbox, I don't know anybody who does more of a full, well-rounded program than I do in the whole wide world. It's just coming from my world level competitive figure skating background, coming from a dad who was an attorney, coming from small town Rochester, Minnesota. Like I've had all these wonderful opportunities. And then I was a single mom at the age of 19. That's a funny story. I mean, not a funny story, but all of a sudden I was under contract. Some things happened. And then everybody was like, what do you mean? You're pregnant. You're going to have this child. You're not going to, what do you mean? You're in the middle. And I was like, no, the universe is speaking through me. And so I went through these major changes and was completely thrown out of my society, completely thrown out of my whole, school skating world. So I have had some pretty tough hard knocks and lived in some pretty sketchy environments. Being the girl that I was and where I came from. Why? So that at the golden age of 56, as I continue on, I can help other people and I can tell you what works and what doesn't work. And there are so many different paths to this. But when we use tools in nature, then it's just nature talking to you.
Right. Well, yeah, I love that. I think that's the perfect perspective.
Yes.
Right. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing all that. I think everyone would find your journey inspiring, and I mean, I have, and it's been very insightful, and I always learn things on these conversations, so I appreciate that. And I mean, it was great having you, and thank you.
You are very, very welcome. I kind of half-ass joke and say that I'm living the book that I'm writing, and it should be out by next year. Ignite your inner spark.
Amazing.
Yes. So thank you. And let me know how when the recording is out. We'd love to pass that on.
Yeah, I will. I will for sure. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Okay, thanks, Selma.